Hello everyone, welcome to Pastimes. I'm Bob Robinson. Today we have an interview with Cath Cobley, my sister, talking about her early life in the 1930s and 1940s. And now we're going to talk about where you were born.
Right. Born in Ingleton, Backgate.
And that was
1931.
31.
And Dad worked in the pit coal mine in Ingleton. And we moved to one of the cottages they built for the miners, which was called the New Village. Yeah. And Muriel and Bella were born in, well, they had two different houses, were born in those houses, right? And the pit closed down, and there was no work in the village. So
when did the pit close down? How old were you when the pit closed down? Can you remember that?
No.
What, were you really young?
Yeah.
4 or 5?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the miners who didn't have any work dug the swimming pool that's in Ingleton now. They all just as something to do.
Yeah, that was voluntary work. They weren't paid for that.
No, I don't think they were.
So
but anyway, it was during that time that Bella was born, when he was doing that.
So when they left, when Dad left the pit because there was no work,
yeah,
because the house was tied, I suppose, did he have to leave the house?
Oh yes, because, well, Auntie Annie wrote to Mum and said, there's plenty of work in Aylesbury, why don't you come and live here?
And how did they get to Aylesbury though? Because where did they live before that, Auntie Annie?
Well, you'll find that out from Rose. She knows better than me.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, you'll find that out from her. I'll leave her to tell you that. But, because they had a cobbler's shop, didn't they? He was a cobbler, a boot repairer.
What, in Aylesbury?
Uncle Jack was. He had a shop, yeah. It's not there now, but yeah. And so I went first with Dad to Aylesbury, and I can't remember for the life of me the journey. I can't.
And how old were you then, roughly?
About 4 and a half.
Oh, really? As young as that?
Yeah, about 4 and a half. Well, yes, well, or perhaps nearly 5, because when we got to Aylesbury, I started school with Rose. Rose was already at the school, St John's.
Oh, so when you came down with Dad, that was a permanent move? You didn't just come down?
Oh, no, for a lookie. No, that was permanent. So he left Mum to sell up what they had and to follow on with Muriel and Bella, which she did. But I can't for the life of me. I mean, the house that Rose lived in, they only had 2 bedrooms and a little back kitchen, smaller than that. And
that was a terrace?
No, it was semi-detached next to another shop. Yeah,
oh, right.
Yeah. There was a back way, but they never used it. And so the cobbler's shop was at the front of it, and there was like a living room and then a little back kitchen. It was only very small. God knows where we slept. I don't know, because they'd only got 2 bedrooms. And the bit you're going on about me under the kitchen sink was because we more or less stayed in the back kitchen.
Oh, right.
You see, Mum and Dad and us, we were more or less in the back kitchen.
Oh, so that's when everyone came down then?
Yeah, after Mum and Muriel and Bella. Now, I can't remember I can't remember that, but all I can remember is what I can remember when Mum's dad, Thornton, came down for a visit, and God knows where he slept, probably in with Uncle Jack, I suppose, and perhaps all the rest of us slept on the floor somewhere, and that must have been it. But that incident I told you about was he came to stand at the fire, one of those little old-fashioned fires in the kitchen.
Open fire?
Well, where you have a little oven door at the side, them tiny little ones, you know. And he was stood there because the fire was on, and I was hunched up by the fire, and he said, "You get away from there." And he stood in front of the fire with his back to the fire, you know, preening there. And I hated him. And I had to crawl under the sink.
So that's where
that's where that comes.
That's
I just got to get out of the way of him. I had nowhere else to go.
Oh, so you
and I don't know where Muriel and Bella were. For all I know, they were upstairs. There was nowhere to go there, you see. And they didn't have much of a garden. The garden was really very small and pathetic.
So what are these houses are what? 2 up, 2 down?
Yeah, but it was, the front was a shop, proper shop.
Oh, right.
And it was next door to Johnny Johnson, the grocer's, where we used to get, you know, our grocery from. And his was the same layout, sort of thing.
And what street was this in?
Cambridge Street.
Cambridge Street.
But now it's all, where that is, it's all that big retail park now.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so that's gone. And then we got, hadn't been there long, because we were really cramped. We got a little cottage in Park Street, and that was 2 up and 2 down, even smaller.
Really?
That was very small. In fact, it had a room for a bed in the back bedroom, and me and Muriel and Bella slept in that bed, and there was no room, no other space in that room. And Mum and Dad slept in the front room. And there was a kitchen, a little back kitchen, but it was so tiny that you couldn't sit in there. There was just one of them horrible old pot sinks, shallow pot sinks there. And I think there was a copper there for them to do the wash. Because in houses then, Victorian and Edwardian houses, they had a copper where people heated the water, you see, for put your washing in to boil it up, and then you washing with the rest of the water.
Was that the ones that had a fire underneath?
Yeah.
You lit a fire underneath?
Yes, that's
then
right.
there was this copper bowl on top,
Yes.
sort of. And that was built in, wasn't it, into a kind of a brickwork and
Yes,
stuff.
that's right, yeah. Most houses had those. That was the facilities, if you like.
But you had running water.
Oh, yes. And but we, in that little cottage, we didn't have electric. We only had gas. And we had gas lights.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Them little, you know, get a little mantle.
Little mantles.
Yeah, and they'd pop, and then you'd have to get a new mantle. Anyway, we were only there about 3 or 4 years, I think. And it was so tiny, but believe it or not, during that time, Uncle Will came to lodge with us.
Where did he sleep?
He slept with Dad, and Mum had to sleep with us. And of course that created a hell of a lot of rows between Mum and Dad, because Mum weren't in Dad's bed. And that led to a terrible fight between Dad and Uncle Will, because he wouldn't go. You see, he was very tight person. He wouldn't obey, because he was either at wing or Leighton Buzzard, I don't know which, doing his cobbling. Yeah.
Right.
and anyway, they had a fight. Dad told him to go, and he was, you know, he wasn't going to go quietly, so they had a bloody fight. anyway, he had to go. Mum went out while Dad spoke to him. She weren't there while all this went on. But we just happened to come back as kids, just happened to come back. And when it was over and everything was smashed in the room.
Really?
Yeah, it was all smashed. All the crocks on the table were on the floor and what we had, you know. Anyway, he did go. Where the hell he went, I don't know. But so that entailed them not speaking for years.
Yeah,
And then Auntie Annie wouldn't speak to us because of that. Wouldn't speak to Mum and Dad because of that, what happened. So she fell out as well.
All right.
Yeah, oh, it was funny.